how our childhood affects our relationships. A few weeks ago, there was basically this girl in my class, right? She's like really attractive, like a really attractive girl, right? In my class, like the most attractive girl in our class, right? And she like talks to all the boys and like flirts with them and whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to get involved in any of that, right? I just want to focus on myself. And I promise this will get like so fascinating, I promise, right? But then this girl, she keeps, and I don't want to boast or say I'm the best or anything. This is just for the story. This is like literally what happened, and this is what I learned. She keeps, coming up to me, sitting next to me, asking for a pen or whatever, like basically showing me signs of interest, right? But what I noticed about myself is, like what I noticed about what was happening, like I'm telling you, this girl, like she's like the most attractive girl, like physically, the most attractive girl in our whole year, right? And she keeps showing me signs of interest and I'm pulling back. Like I'm avoiding, basically. I'm trying to stay away. And I'm not gonna lie, I kept, like stroking my ego, like, oh, look at me, I'm like the alpha male or whatever, and all the girls like me or whatever. But really, it all changed yesterday. Yesterday, I started reading this book called Attached, this book right here. And I really recommend you read this book, bro. Like, this book changed the way I see relationships completely, right? So this book, basically what it talks about is there are 3 sort of attachment styles, right? And basically what it's saying really is our relationships with the opposite sex, with like our relationships with girls and our relationships with our friends as well, are directly correlated to how we were treated as children. Does that make sense? So basically, the way our parents treated us, that's how we treat our partners in relationships, basically. So this is something I was just learning for my future wife, for when I'm gonna get married, which is gonna happen in like 10 or 15 years, right? But then, I remember that girl in class, and I was like, yeah, like she has an anxious attachment style, and I'm gonna explain all 3, right? And I have an avoidant attachment style. So basically, and I felt a lot of sympathy for that girl, because that means that her parents were always hot and cold, basically. Her parents were always like warm sometime, but the other time like distant, right? Does that make sense? And looking at myself, I have a very avoidant attachment style. Like, and that just means that my parents were distant. They were really focusing on my brother, not really focusing on me, which basically explains why I'm just so independent and so just perfectionist, and why I'm so obsessed with books and self-improvement in the gym and all these things, right? And I just found this absolutely fascinating, man. So how does our childhood affect our relationships? I know that story was pretty long, but basically what this book talks about, Attached, is there are 3 attachment styles. There's anxious, avoidant, and secure. Let's start with anxious. Anxious, basically, people who are anxious, they have parents who are very hot and cold, right? Basically, they have, and this is something I recently just learned yesterday, right? Their parents are sometimes very loving and very warm and very to them, and other times they are just very distant and very avoidant, which is basically just very toxic for a child, and honestly manipulative for a child, to have that sort of warm and cold behavior, right? But what happens is when that child grows up, right, and let's say it's a girl, right? If that girl, who her parents basically treated her very hot and cold, right? They were with her sometime and avoiding the other time, she will want that in a relationship. She will be very anxious of losing someone in a relationship. Does that make sense? Like this book has like so many examples in it talking about like attachment styles, but basically if that girl grows up and she gets with a guy who has a very avoidant attachment style. Basically, he just stays away and is afraid of love and afraid of relationships. She will be so afraid of losing that guy that she will do everything. She will keep texting him all the time, and she will keep trying to get closer to him and sitting next to him and standing next to him and just, you know, even making him jealous, right? Because she's so afraid of losing her partner, just like she was so afraid of losing her parents. You see what I mean? Like, our childhood is so connected to our relationships, it's scary. And Carl Jung has this brilliant quote, which is, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate, right? Unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So we have to be aware of these things. We have to be aware that, you know, if you get, let's say, you know, you date a girl, right? Like, I don't recommend that, doing that at all right now, because we're still, you know, growing ourselves as men, right? But let's say, if me and you date a girl, right? And that girl, you know, she's very attached to you, she's so clingy, she's so needy, even so, a lot of times she makes you feel jealous and talks to other guys, right? And you just hate that, and you just get closer to her and get very protective and whatever. That girl, she's doing that because she has an anxious attachment style. She's so afraid of losing you. She's so afraid of losing you, and she will basically do anything in her powers to get closer to you. And anxious people, basically the way to know them is they want to get so close to people that it makes people a bit uncomfortable, right? Like, and that just explains everything, because if they want to get close to people, they see people as their parents, right? It's a bit difficult to explain that, but basically, because their parents weren't close or didn't give them consistent parenting, that's the key. They weren't consistent. They want that consistency from someone, and they're so afraid of losing that person, right? So that's the anxious attachment style. The second attachment style is avoidant. And basically what that means is, and I think this is me, right? I think I have an avoidant attachment style, I'm not gonna lie. Basically, the avoidant person, they were raised, like their parents weren't really there for them, or they were very distant, or they had a lot of just time alone, right? I love my parents. I love my parents so much, right? But looking back on my childhood, basically my parents were really focused on my brother, because my brother is like 4 years older than me. So they were really focused on him. So I had a lot of time alone. And that's why I have this avoidant attachment style. And I'm really working on it. I'm really working on just opening myself up more. Just being more open, like to stop being this avoidant sort of type, right? I'm trying to be the secure, which is the third attachment style, which I'll explain in a bit. But yeah, I found out that, yeah, this is me. And if you look at me in school, right, in class, like I don't know why, I'm just so avoidant of talking to girls, like especially in this girl, or being close to them, because that's just how I was raised. Like, just to avoid that, to just focus on myself. And that explains why I'm so obsessed with self-improvement, right? So basically, if you see a girl who she's like very distant, she doesn't like being, you know, like she doesn't like getting close and all the touches and getting cuddly and whatever, she's so afraid of that, you can basically almost guarantee that that girl was raised, her parents weren't really there for her. They just left her. They were very distant. And that's why she's so afraid of, she's so avoidant, basically, right? So that's the avoidant attachment style. And the thing is, anxious and avoidant people don't go together that well. Like, anxious people are so afraid of losing avoidant people, and avoidant people are so afraid of anxious people. Does that make sense, right? So yeah, that's what I learned yesterday. And the third type, and basically the type that we need is secure. It is the secure attachment style. And I hope I'm explaining this. I hope this makes sense, because I'm trying to explain as best as I can, really. But the secure attachment style is basically you were raised loved unconditionally. You were raised very securely. Your parents gave you unconditional love. You know, they supported you. They were there for you always. And you're so secure. You can balance between being, you know, independent, having alone time, and at the same time you don't mind getting close to people and like getting really touchy and cuddly and all those things, right? And hugging people and all those things. And I think I'm becoming that, right? I'm becoming more secure of myself, right? Now, basically, if a girl is secure, right? Basically, her parents loved her unconditionally. She was, you know, she was supported. You know, she had a very good relationship with her father. The way she will treat you, that's basically the best way. Does that make sense? Is securely. Like, she will get very close to you, and she will be like very cuddly and warm and all those things. But at the same time, she's not gonna be anxious. Does that make sense? She wouldn't fear losing you as much as the anxious attachment, right? So basically, the lesson I'm trying to say is, like, our childhood is directly correlated with our relationships, our romantic relationships. They are directly correlated, and I think the whole journey is to be as secure as we can. Is to heal all that trauma, heal all that neglect that we had when we were children, right? Heal all that and just be secure. And of course, find one who's secure. Find a partner who's secure and get married, right? That's like the ultimate goal. Like, think about it, bro. Like, the greatest moment of your entire life is when you get married and when you have children. That's gonna be the greatest moment of your entire life, of your entire existence on this planet, right? So yeah, I hope I gave you like some value in this video, and I'm just starting to read this book, so I'm gonna talk more about it, and I hope I gave you value in this video. And as always, bro, we're in this together, and we will make it.